Are we live?
You can't turn your phone while live. Rotate your phone. We're live.
We're live?
We're live.
Great. I'm Bill Valavanis. I live in Rochester, New York. And welcome to our garden. I'd like to thank and congratulate Robert Stephen and Sue Fain for the 3rd anniversary of the Black Scissor Movement. Black Scissor Movement is to encourage creativity without any bounds. Okay, what I'd like to do today is talk about maple bonsai. And I have quite a few maple bonsai. I want to show you how to develop them. This is a developed tree. It was started from a graft many years ago. Let's walk into the garden. A couple more to show you. See this big tree? This is a rough bark Japanese maple. Beautiful bark. I started from cutting about 45 years. Okay. Into the main garden. If anybody has any questions, just pop up. Maple bonsai. Well-developed maple bonsai. This is from a cutting. Why don't you come around here? I'd like to thank Mark. Maple started from a cutting over 30 years ago. And this one won the top prize in Chicago last month. But if you notice, it's got nice branching and small foliage. The tree next to it is a Gashira Japanese maple. These are started from air layerings. They all came off one tree. So you have a cutting and an air layer. You can also start from drastic pruning. This tree is a Katsura Japanese maple. Have it as a garden tree. Used to be a stock plant. It's got a nice heavy trunk. But I could make that into a bonsai. Too big for me now. However, I had another one the same age, and here it is in a bonsai container. This is the back of the tree. So this tree and the other tree is at the same age. Another interesting thing is this tree. This is a dwarf or Yatsubusa Chinese elm with nice corky bark. All right, let's walk over here a second, Mark. The tree growing in the garden, picture that big one? Cuttings, and that was a stock plant. It's got nice rough bark. Well, a few years ago, I had a Japanese black pine growing between these two maples, and I gave it to a friend, Bob Blankfield. When he dug it up, he hit one of the surface roots of this big tree, and that cascade bones we just looked at is one of the surface roots. So these are well-developed bonsai. I want to show you how we started them. Let's walk in the studio. Outside in the garden is where the trees have to be maintained for proper health. When I want to share them with a friend, I bring them in, plain background, well lit, and people can enjoy them here. And this is the autumn season with the persimmon. But highlighting is this Gashira Japanese maple. Here's a baby picture. That's the same tree. 1972 and 2017. Completely container grown. And if you notice, I still have a wire scar. And I waited 40 years for this bud because I need a branch in here. So hopefully I can encourage it. So this was started from a graft. Here's another graft. This is a golden full moon maple. This turns brilliant red. And just for the fun, I planted a dwarf mulberry next to it. And this is loaded with little black berries, sometimes red berries. Okay, you can also start from seed. It takes a little bit longer. Here's a Japanese maple seedling. But notice it's kind of straight, not too much movement. So usually what we do is take young seedlings and put an initial bend, like these two. And we exaggerate the curves because as they get fatter, it'll smooth out a little. But seedlings take a long time too. Remember the big rough bark maple I showed you outside? Here's a seedling from it. See the rough bark? So a high percentage of the seedlings from this tree form rough bark. You can also start a bonsai from nursery stock. This is a Benny Maiko. And the foliage, this is a typical foliage. However, sometimes it reverts to the big leaf. But I let these branches grow to make them thicker. I can cut this off here. And I've got the nice foliage here. But you got to let it run. So this can be made into a bonsai. Here is a little seedling. I made it for a quick demo for one of my classes. Maybe 15, 20 years ago. It's very difficult to do a demonstration with a maple because usually when you get through, you end up with this. This is about an 8 to 10 foot tree and I cut it down to a stump. 1980. Got the date on the back. And here's the tree here. Now, to develop a tree like this, if you notice, it's in a shallow pot. But the first picture I showed you, the developmental picture, it's in a deep training pot. That's important, to be deep and very coarse soil. And I let it grow 4 feet, cut it back. Let it grow 4 feet and cut it back. Eventually it got to the height and the branch structure. I mean, Mark, can you see all the branches? Oh, you can see them here. All of these are the same age. The same age. But the way it developed different thicknesses by letting this run 4 feet and cutting it back to get the thickness. But once you develop a tree like this, you don't just hack it back with a head shear. You very carefully have to break the buds in spring. As they're opening, you pull the center out. And that's how you develop fine twigs. All right? You can also start from a cutting. Here's a cutting, about 25 years of a Kotoheme maple. And here's an air layer of a Kotoheme Japanese maple. I just noticed this. There's little roots sticking out here. High humidity. See? They root very easy. But that tree has nice structure. The leaves are a little bit distorted at this time of year because of the time of the year. And we've had a very wet spring and summer. And I've had fungus problems. But we're overcoming it. So it's very difficult to do a demonstration with a maple because usually you cut everything off. But let's see what we're going to do here. Okay. I got lucky. I went to a nursery, local nursery, about 5 miles from here, Growmore Farms, and found this Sharp's Pygmy Japanese maple. Cost $78. But I had a 30% discount. End of the season. So I purchased one and I made it up right here. I did that one last month. That's right from nursery stock. This dwarf variety has nice branches and it's not necessary to cut them all off. I can work with what I have. So went back to the nursery and I purchased another one for this demo. Now yesterday my assistant came, we cleaned up the surface roots to find the roots. It was buried up to here. So here's the tree all the way around. And I'm going to start the beginning of a bonsai. The object of this is to show you certain techniques, not to create a beautiful bonsai. Because that's too difficult to do with a piece of nursery stock in 45 minutes. It takes time. All these trees I showed you have taken decades. So looking at this tree, I'm thinking of making this the front, because the base of the trunk and the uninterrupted trunk line. Very nice. And I'm going to use right in between here. Now if we turn the tree around, look at the side view, it's got one real heavy branch. If you take off the heavy branch, the trunk looks fatter, and the other branches look much more in proportion. Proportion is very important. So we have to cut this branch off. Let's do it directly. Take off some of these. Another reason why I cut this off is because in the nursery before I got it, someone had pruned a branch or it died back. But now I got to get rid of all this. So, many different tools. This is called a curved knob cutter. Curved knob cutter. Informally known as a knuckle cutter. Well, let's cut it. That's a big one. This isn't the final cut.
Okay.
Got a question?
Well, this says that even though I'm holding the camera horizontally, it says that the video is vertical. So I'm not quite certain about that.
Robert Stevens, who gave me directions, said to hold it horizontal. Okay. That's a stub. That's ugly, and I've been doing this over 55 years. I know if I leave it, it's going to be a big bulge. So, okay?
Yeah, I'm just...
So I want to make, it's an outie, I want to make an innie. So I got to carve this. I have power tools, I have chisels, but this will work. Carefully, I'm whittling it down. Also, I'm not sure of the correct angle. I'm probably going to tilt the tree a little. Okay. Now, I can make a more controlled cut with a smaller one. It fits my hands better. For large wounds of any tree, it's best to make them long and elliptical, pointed at the top and at the bottom. And I'll show you why in a minute. It's not good. I can do better. I don't know how, but people are invited to submit questions. I can try to answer them. Now, Mark is the cameraman today. So, Mark, if you have any questions, you can let me know too.
Well, I am holding the camera horizontally, but one of our viewers commented that the image needs to be changed, so I'm not certain we're doing it according to the way we were instructed. So
and when we started this outside, you had a vertical and it said you can't change it. Okay. Three or 4 years, you'll never know a branch grew there. Okay, can you see how deep it is in here? And it's pointed at the top and a little bit at the bottom. Here's why you have to do that. Okay, if you notice a callus tissue, trees don't heal. The new callus covers. And let me get a chopstick. There's more on the right and on the left. More tissue. Very little at the top and at the bottom. So make them long elliptical, it'll cover quickly. Here's another one. See how much tissue there is? Now these should have been covered with some type of tree wound sealant. I like cut paste. And usually I do, oh, that's my elixir. This is very important for the creation of my bonsai. So, cut paste. You usually do it at the end, but I'm going to do it now. And you got to push it in. Now this tree is still in training. However, okay, if this were a developed tree, and I want, hi, and I want to display it, I take one of my brushes and I texture it. If it were an evergreen, I would glue pieces of bark over it. You'd never know it. Okay, so here's the tree with a large cut, and here's the front. Probably, I can either angle it, you're looking at the front, either like this, or this way. I'm not going to decide now. This branch is a bit long and heavy, but I'm going to leave it for now. I don't want to make a skeleton at the end. So the first step is you find the base of the tree, determine the angle, and just like a painting, you set your boundaries, the perimeter. I need to determine the height of the tree. So for the approximate height of this tree, look, I got a branch on one side, something in the back, something on the left.
Sean says turn the camera as well, Bill.
Try turn the camera, see what happens. Which Sean? Our Sean Smith?
Our Sean Smith.
Great. I saw on Facebook that he fixed his new studio.
It looks beautiful.
It does, workshop. Okay, so I'm going to determine the height. Cut it back to here for now. Now you got to determine the left and the right limits.
Okay, Sean says that's better.
Good.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. So this branch is going to come down, but it's too long. I can easily cut it off here. Now, if this were a different time of the year, you could very easily take cuttings. When you take cuttings, especially in class, take a big cutting home like this. One end is drying out. Then when you get home, you can divide it up into smaller pieces. This will make a nice cutting. Dip in rooting powder, take a community pot, get many cuttings. But it's the wrong time of the year. Perhaps in other areas of the world, you could do it.
That's
Like
too bad.
Yeah. Look, that would be a nice little tree.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Show him. I could work with that.
I'm going to cut this one back a little too on the left. And cut out the heavier branches. Okay. Right, left, up here, too big. Cut away the ugly parts and leave the good parts. That's what you do with bonsai. Highlight the beauty, or create the beauty. So the tree is pretty much trimmed. Now I'm going to need some hardware to bend the branches. The trunk shape is okay. I want to get these branches down and to spread them open, to make it an inviting tree. Now, can I get this one down? What's that noise? Question?
No, somebody giving thumbs up. We're getting lots of thumbs up.
Okay. Okay. I want to get this one down and this one down. This one's going to be tough. But what I really want is this branch over here. So I'm going to take some hardware. This is number 8 copper wire, and that piece is too short. This piece would probably be long enough. However, it's been compromised,
Mangled.
hardened. You shouldn't even really do this. That hardens the wire. You should be very careful with the wire. So I'm going to take the wire. And I save all these little pieces of scrap. And my friends save them for me too. And all my students bring me wire. They don't bring the teacher apples. Sometimes bring me cookies, but usually wire. So we save all this. And last month, we took the scraps. I had 8 5-gallon pails stomped with a sledgehammer. How much do you think we got to recycle? $659 for 2 years worth. It's not bad.
That's a lot of sushi.
It's a lot of sushi. That's our sushi fund. Okay. So I want to play this wire and start in the back so the front looks neat. And go down like this. That's anchored. Go around the trunk. And I prefer to go up and over. Many different ways of doing it, but that's the way I do it. And as you can see from my garden, it works. Okay. So I'll get around here and finish this branch. Got a thumbs up?
Someone is asking if there is anyone else that is going to be demonstrating, and we don't have the schedule in front of us, so.
No, but there's
There's
I think 56 artists from around the world. Many of them are all finished like in Australia. Pedro Morales lives in San Juan, and he got kind of devastated with the hurricane. He drove around and found a spot where he could get Wi-Fi, and it's all part of his demo. That's dedication. But that's kind of typical for bonsai artists. We want to share the beauty. And the wire like this. Okay. I'm going to have to do something here because I'm vertically challenged. There we go. Okay. So I'm using copper wire. The best time, when's the best time to prune maples and cut them back, do you think? When's the best time to wire maples? Deciduous trees. What do you think, Mark? Not when everybody does it. When's the best time?
This time is not bad.
The best time to wire deciduous species is in the summer, when a new growth is elongated, because it's very supple, we can bend it. However, everybody, including me, does it in spring, because it's easier without the leaves. So this wire is going on now. It'll stay on all winter. The tree's not going to grow. You're not going to see it grow. Trees never stop growing, especially the roots.
It's difficult in the spring, though, when they grow so fast.
I know. When I have my beginner's class, we set up the studio here. Mark, why don't you just pan around? This is my studio, and I'd set up for class. Yesterday I started my autumn classes. Ended up with like 15 students on Saturday and 15 students on Monday evening. So today what I did is I just brought in some grass plantings to show the seasonal. show the season. But tomorrow will be a bustling activity. Now, if your ivy's changing color, and the euonymus is changing color, that's Diane's little euonymus. Mark, why don't you rotate that too? That's the back. There's also a pyracantha, firestone, on the other table. And a very unusual shiraku pot. The ceramic artist used to study bonsai in Tokyo. And I saw that pot, and fell in love with it, and bought it. Well, the people on my tour thought it was crazy. When are we ever going to put in that fragrance? I had no idea. I had no idea. But I bought it anyways. And I just left it. Well, on a Saturday, after class, we were having pizza with my friends. My eye went out to the greenhouse, and I had that pyracantha. Pretty neat tree, right? Okay, the history is neat, too. I'm over here moving branches. I haven't cracked anything yet. The history of that tree. The trunk came in. They look at the pyracantha?
Yeah.
Okay. The trunk came in from Korea maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. It was a great looking tree. Well, the tree died, but I left it alone. And I got 2 shoots at the base, 2 basal shoots. I let them grow long into whips, and I intertwined them around the trunk. And I recreated the tree. We had a nice looking bonsai out of it. And several years ago, I had a client come over. She had to have it. So $8,000 is left. She had it for a year or 2, and she killed it. I said, no, let me have it back. So I got it back, got another shoot at the bottom, and I trained it up. And I recreated it. Then, she's not interested in bonsai anymore. So we sold all of her collection at my colloquium in 2012. And I bought it back for $200. Okay. A little too long. Mark, next to the tokonoma, the alcove display, I have a porcelain berry. And usually they're bright blue, purple, turquoise, the berries. I've only got a couple berries so far. It's been a very unusual growing season. Very wet. I think there's a berry on the left. The container is very unusual. Very handmade American with American clay by Tom Dimmick. He was a very active ceramic bonsai artist in Columbia, South Carolina. But I think he's into koi now. So he'll be able to get several of his pots. So I finished that one piece of wire, and I'm putting another piece of wire on, the heavier branches. Just spread them out. And I turn in the tree because if you wire towards yourself, it's much easier. I heard another sound. That's nice.
Luis Hernandez.
Okay. Where's he on?
He just joined in.
Good. Welcome. Where are you from, Luis? Supposed to be all over the world.
It appears like there are people from all over the world.
Oh, good. It's a lot of fun. Su Fang from China and Robert Stephen from Indonesia started this movement with other people in Indonesia, and it's grown. Okay. Stubs, nubbies, make it nice and smooth. Now maple is very brittle. Yesterday from our beginners class, their first tree, we used Jabota Kaba, which is a tropical fruit tree, and it's very flexible. I don't think anybody broke their tree. I split mine, but that was okay. Cut the ends off.
Bill, for anyone that is interested in understanding some of your techniques in developing maples for ramification and refinement, your book details a lot of what you've done.
Yeah.
How
That's
many?
for bonsai art. The book is out of print. You can buy it on Amazon for $250. Used. But I have it for less than that. If you private message me, I can help you perhaps. Time is important. My second book on pine bonsai came out, I think, 1976. And we had a hard time selling it for $10. When it's available on Amazon, how much do you think it is? What do you think?
I know.
$650.
I'm glad I got my copy early.
And I just noticed my first book on plant propagation for bonsai. It's even more rare, but I just saw it for $175, something like that. Okay. Now this branch up here, I want to get these two wired. How am I going to do that? Can you see in here, Mark?
Yes.
I want to wire these two. But I can't just wire them together, it won't hold. So I'm going to wire this one to this one and anchor it. Then I can anchor this one to that one. We'll try this.
I'm going to take a quick pan at your book that you have open.
Okay. I have it open. Remind me of the dates. If I forget it. Get them open. These decades just run together. Time flies when you're having fun. And I've had fun doing this for the past half century. I wonder if this is going to be archived. All these videos.
Be quite a resource.
Yeah. Now December, Su Fang at a Bonsai Without Borders. And he had, I think, 75 demonstrations going on at one time. Huge trees, huge trees. I thought it would have been a mess. But it was well organized. You could see everything. He knows how to pull things off. I was very impressed with his organizational skills for doing that. Okay. I'll get this one.
Can't see the bill for the tree.
It's okay. I need to see me. Look at the tree. Is shape the main branches. It's got nice, fine twigs. So I think we can spread them out and get a halfway decent looking tree. Another dinghy. I gotta be careful because these little branches are brittle. I don't want to break too many off. Or the main trunks.
The one that you did last month has pretty decent surface roots too,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Actually, Diane found that tree. She found that tree and a dwarf Colorado blue spruce, which is very interesting. If you look on my blog and my Facebook page and Bonsai Nut, we took a $30 tree in 5 or 6 hours, turned it into a halfway decent tree.
Can't remember ever seeing a finer nursery stock find
That was pretty good.
and result.
And for a conifer, too.
Yeah.
What's this? Oh, okay.
There was just a goose that went by. He's headed to Florida. I don't think he knows what he's getting into.
Yeah. Poor people down there. And Texas, too.
Tony Tickle says hi.
Hi, Tony. At church, we had a second trade for the Texas hurricane victims. And our priest said we'll probably have another one next week for the Florida victims. One of my son lives in Fort Myers. He boarded up his house and took off. He's on his way to Alabama or Pensacola. Okay. Open this up without breaking.
Robert
What?
Baran is on.
Of our Baron?
Yeah.
Bonsai historian.
Yeah.
Good site.
Excellent site.
Yeah. They changed the name of the site.
Doesn't make sense.
One branch I might cut off. Let me wait a minute. Okay. Now, want to what? The main trunk is wired. The main branches are wired. Now I want to do some secondary branches. These two. I might cut this one off. I don't know. So these are thinner. This is a wider gauge wire, number 10. Around here we don't use sissy wire. We use real copper wire.
Why, Bill?
The holes. They bend it in the holes. Copper wire has been used for about 75 to 80 years in Japan. Aluminum wire was early 1970s. I was the first one to import aluminum wire from Japan. 1972. For the combined BCI and ABS convention in Kansas City, Missouri.
Aluminum?
Aluminum, yeah. Saburo Kato was using it for spruce, and azalea growers were using it. But now it's become very popular. But you have a very heavy gauge, and it's ugly. If you bend a tree and it doesn't hold, you either put on the wire incorrectly or the wrong gauge.
Antonio from Spain sends his regards.
Oh, Antonio,
Is that where your
my olive.
olive came from? Your beautiful olive?
Came out nice. I've never grown olives. I
From
don't
the-
have indoor trees. So I met him in China, one of Su Fang's programs. He said, I'm going to send you an olive. I said, how do I grow? He said, treat it like a bougainvillea. And I did. And it grew, and it grew. But I was teaching someplace around the world, and my wife Diane called me and said, somebody just sent you a dead stump. It's all half dead. Well, that dead stump was over 150 years old. Beautiful shape. Lots of dead wood. So I just kept it, put it in a deep pot, let it grow, cut it back once a year, getting it established. So a few weeks ago, I was looking good. So I took it and trimmed it and threw some wire on it and put it in a different pot. Then I can't do that. After a live video.
Young Chloe just joined.
Young Troy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. She does beautiful kusamono and accessory plants for bonsai. And this is September 10th. Next year on September 8th and 9th, we're having the 6th U.S. National Bonsai Exhibition. I'd like to invite you all here. We'll be in Rochester, same venue as the last two. And our guest judges are Taiga Urushibata from Japan, Mauro Stromberger from Italy, and Lindsay and his wife Glennis Beck from Australia. They'll be presenting programs and judging the exhibition. We start doing some finer branches on this tree. And just lowering the branches, spreading them out carefully without snapping. It's a sweet little tree there.
I love this little tree.
That's one branch off the original kotohime introduced to the U.S. Almost all the bonsai kotohimes in America can be traced back to my original stump.
Salita just joined.
Oh, hi, Salita. Okay. I'll put more hardware on a tree. So I didn't cut that much out. Here's what it looks like so far. See? Here's the front. See, plain background. Spreading out the branches. Trying to get in position. And in anticipation for spring.
Phil Craig from Florida.
Oh, we're in Florida.
I'm not sure.
Hope you're okay. Hope you're okay. Well, rather than cutting this off, I'm going to cut it back a little. Thin it out. So I don't make a skeleton. Wire is heavy enough, but I don't want to break it. That would be embarrassing, but it happens. This tree was grown from a graft here, and it's maybe 7 to 10 years. However, 7 to 10 years in the Pacific Northwest. You couldn't do that, take 20 years to grow this here. And our lovely growth here. Our lovely.
Phil evacuated from Fort Myers to Gainesville, and he's thanking you for giving him something other to watch than the mess at home.
How bad is it in Fort Myers? My son lives in Fort Myers. He lives in Fort Myers, but he works out of New Orleans. He's a captain on a supply ship. Unfortunately, he was home. So he boarded up his house, and he's hit the road. Okay. Thinning it out a little. Thinning it out to make room for new growth in spring. Too many tools.
How much of the tree have you reduced?
Well, let's see. Let's put the branches up. What, half? Maybe?
I would say,
Now, as I'm looking at this, I'll look at the front. It's too pointed. Often, narrow-leaf evergreens, which most people call conifers, have pointed tops. And it looks like a youngish tree. However, deciduous trees usually are shaped a little bit differently. They have a rounded crown. Now, as many people know, I don't grow naturalistic bonsai. I grow classical bonsai. Highly refined, idealized nature. Not necessarily the way the tree grows, but idealized nature. And the principles were established in 1868 in the book. There's several pages of taboo branches, and which branches should be avoided and why. So many people say this looks artificial. I can see that. I can see that. But that's where I was trained. And that's an image I like to show. Highly refined, nature idealized. Don't forget, beauty is perceived by man. Just because you see a tree grow like that doesn't mean anything. But it's a good thing everybody doesn't think that way. It'd be very boring to walk into a show and see 50 Japanese black pine trainer formal upright style. You need to have some variety. That's why we just sponsored the first U.S. Shogun Bonsai exhibition. But we had some medium-sized and small-sized as well to round it out. So it wouldn't be too boring or monotonous. One of our dogs is barking. Somebody's probably walking a dog across the street. Thank you, Mark. How are we doing on time? I have no idea.
we're probably maybe a couple minutes over, 45.
don't use the wire. I keep saying that. But the more hardware you put on the tree, the better of a shape you'll have, because every branch is in the idealized location.
Nick from Greece says it's difficult to keep Acer really healthy in Athens.
Too humid? It's difficult to keep them alive here in Rochester too, but that's because of the cold. You know, Japanese black pine isn't winter hardy in Rochester. Difficult in the ground too. So I don't have too many. We got plenty of Scots pine, which are winter hardy, and have nice small needles.
MRB just joined. Must have just woken up.
So it's going around the world. I'm sure it's evening in some places. Okay, as you see, I'm turning this tree so it looks split all the way around. Nice and well balanced. I like this branch. I don't know if we're going to keep it. And I see another halfway decent branch I cut off. I want to cover it. I want to seal it. I use cut paste. People use Elmer's glue, chewing gum, anything as long as it seals out the air. Okay, now let's put this back here. We can talk about the tree, and I can show you, idealize what's going to happen in the future.
A couple more friends from Florida joined in. We're thinking about you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Seth Nelson.
Think about Weichert's. Okay. See, very rarely do I plant a tree straight up and down in the pond. Always kick it left or the right. And now remember that I put that cut paste on and I made it nice and textured? I said I usually don't do it till the end, and that's why. Working on the tree, all the texture disappeared. So I'm going to put another piece up higher. I'll try to get a good picture of this. I'm not going to pot it. And I'll put it on my Facebook page. Okay.
Bill, why does it take so long to develop really good maple bonsai?
Maples grow fast, but it takes a long time for them to mature. My friend Harvey Carpel and I have many good maples. We spend more time working on the roots when you transplant than anything else, because that's very powerful. Let me get here in front. And chopstick straight up and down, that's the correct angle.
Nice start.
Yeah, it's just beginning. It'll take 2 or 3 years. In spring, we'll put it in a deep training pot like this. And as it develops and matures, we'll put it into a shallower container. That might take 2 or 3 years. But the deeper containers are better for training. This, by the way, I wasn't drinking, but usually I would have planted it to the left slightly. Okay. Now, here's the front. Let's turn it. See, some more branches back here. Good bonsai look good many different sides. Okay, so this is just the beginning of how to start the initial training of a Japanese maple from common nursery stock. You can start it from seedlings or cuttings, as I showed you, grafts or air layers. But when you take a large plant and drastically prune it to a stump, there's nothing left for an exhibit, for a demonstration. That's why very few people will use deciduous trees for demonstrations. But I got lucky and I found this tree, and I saw it had some type of a spirit and nice growth habit. Okay, any other questions? Hope you enjoyed it. And happy anniversary. Thank you to Sue Fang and Robert Stevens. And I'll see you two guys in China for the big show in about 2 weeks. Thank you for visiting my garden. Good luck with your bonsai. Bye-bye.